Billionaire pretended to sleep to test a poor boy. What the boy did made him cry all night. The old man's eyes were open just a crack, watching through his lashes as the ragged boy knelt beside him on the dusty roadside. It was a bright, blistering afternoon in the city of Raulpur when Mr. Zohaib Khurram Aslam, a billionaire known across 3 continents for his construction empire, decided to do something none of his assistants, drivers, or business partners could have ever predicted. He asked his driver to stop the car 3 streets away from his glass tower headquarters, stepped out in the plainest clothes his closet could offer, and walked into the market square as an ordinary old man. For years, Zohaib had grown suspicious of everyone around him. His own nephew had tried to forge documents to steal a portion of his company. His closest advisor had been caught selling secrets to a rival firm. Every smile directed at him felt transactional, every kindness felt rehearsed for the cameras of his charity events. So today, dressed like a tired laborer, he wanted to see what people did when they thought no one important was watching, when there was nothing to gain from being good. He walked until the afternoon sun made his legs tremble, and then, right beside a fruit cart at the edge of the square, he lowered himself onto the ground and lay down, closing his eyes, pretending to be a sick old man who had simply collapsed from exhaustion. He kept his breathing shallow, his body still, and through the thin slit of his eyelids, he watched the world walk past him. A group of schoolboys laughed and stepped around him without a second glance. A woman in an expensive scarf wrinkled her nose and hurried her pace. A shopkeeper glanced over, sighed, and turned back to arranging his vegetables, clearly assuming this was somebody else's problem to solve. Minutes passed. The sun grew hotter. Zohaib felt a strange ache in his chest that had nothing to do with the hard ground beneath him. It was the ache of confirming what he already feared, that people only saw what they wanted to see, and an old stranger on the ground was invisible. And then he heard small, quick footsteps, followed by the sound of a child's voice, rough with worry. A boy, perhaps 11 years old, wearing a shirt patched in 3 different fabrics and sandals held together with wire, dropped to his knees beside him. His name, Zohaib would later learn, was Rehan, and he sold newspapers and boiled corn near the bus stop to help his widowed mother pay rent on a single room they shared with his 2 younger sisters. Rehan did not call out for help immediately. Instead, he gently touched the old man's shoulder and asked if he was all right, his voice trembling with a concern that felt entirely unrehearsed. When Zohaib did not answer, staying perfectly still inside his performance, Rehan did not walk away. He unwound the thin cloth wrapped around his own neck, folded it into a small cushion, and carefully slid it beneath the old man's head to protect it from the hot stone ground. Then he ran, barefoot, to the corn seller's cart, and Zohaib heard him begging, his voice cracking, asking for just one small cup of water because there was an old man dying on the road and nobody would help him. The corn seller refused at first, saying water cost money and business was business, and it was in that moment that Zohaib heard something that nearly broke his composure entirely. Rehan reached into his pocket and pulled out the only coins he had earned that entire day, the money meant for his family's dinner, and pressed them into the seller's hand without a moment of hesitation. He returned to Zohaib's side, lifted his head as gently as if he were made of glass, and brought the cup to his lips, whispering that everything would be all right, that he would not leave him alone, that somebody was staying with him no matter what. Zohaib felt the cool water touch his lips and felt something inside his chest crack open, a feeling he had not experienced in the 15 years since his own father had passed away calling his name in an empty hospital room while Zohaib was closing a business deal 3 cities away. He opened his eyes slowly, and the boy's face flooded with relief so pure, so uncalculated, that Zohaib had to fight to keep his own composure. He asked the boy why he had given away his last coins for a stranger, and Rehan simply said that his mother always told him a kind heart never checks the balance before it gives, and that someone had once helped his family when they had nothing, and he had promised himself he would pay it forward for as long as he lived. Zohaib sat up, took the boy's small, calloused hand in his own, and told him the truth about who he was and why he had been lying on that ground. He offered Rehan and his family a home, an education, and a future far beyond anything either of them could have imagined that morning, but what stayed with Zohaib far longer than the gratitude in Rehan's mother's eyes was the memory of a child's cloth beneath his head and a cup of water bought with a day's wages. That night, in the vast silence of his mansion, surrounded by wealth that had never once made him feel this alive, Zohaib Khurram Aslam wept until dawn, not from sorrow, but from having finally witnessed a love so selfless it reminded him what his own humanity had once felt like. If this story touched your heart even a little, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment sharing what it meant to you, and share it with someone who might need a reminder that kindness still exists. And if you have made it this far, comment the word hope below. I read every single one, and I would love to know you were here with us tonight.